Welcome, and thank you for tuning in to the Human Training Your Dog is Begging For podcast. If you're needing help understanding your dog and their crazy, wacky behaviors, you've come to the right place. We're Charles and Laura Countryman, the co-founders of Canine Culture Dog Training in Dallas, Texas. Good morning.
Good morning.
And as always, we have senior trainer and head of dog evaluations, Wyatt, with us. Good morning, Wyatt.
Good morning.
All right, guys. So today we are going to be talking about something a lot of people know is dangerous, but they don't know which ones are dangerous. If you are like most pet parents and you give your dogs toys, there's definitely some toys that you should not be giving your dog, even if they like it, even if they love it, because you could be harming your dog. And one of these toys that we talk about is probably going to startle people that are listening. So, dangerous toys is the subject today. What's the top of your list for most dangerous toy, Laura?
Most dangerous? A whole bunch of them.
Well, what's the top? What just comes to mind first? In no particular order. These are not like this is the most dangerous.
People allow their dogs to eat sticks off the ground.
Sticks off the ground.
Yes, that's how you get punctured intestines.
Oh,
so
yeah.
You should not allow your dogs to chew sticks from a tree, a branch, whatever. They're very dangerous. I know people like it, but they're very dangerous.
And that's one of those things that, because we just had a windstorm and knocked a bunch of branches out of our backyard, and Dolly's out there grabbing
sticks, being wild.
She's logging. She's grabbing a branch bigger than her body. But then they start chomping and disintegrating it and chomping it into smaller pieces, and then they swallow one of those pieces and poo. Punctured intestine. Yeah, a lot of sharp little points in there. It's like literally it would be like your dog swallowing a toothpick.
Yeah.
I mean, a sharp object.
Sharp
is in there. Now, maybe they're not all sharp, and you get away with it for 5 years and nothing ever occurred. But just one little sharp one that goes in there is going to puncture something.
That $1,000 to $3,000 vet bill
would chew it enough, but it only takes one. Boo-boo.
So that's a good one, and I don't think most people even think about that.
They don't.
It's just some innocent little stick in the backyard that our dogs want to.
Some people throw them for their dogs, which is fine as long as you take it away. That's what I think is going to come around to all these toys is.
For sure. The biggest thing that people make a mistake with toys is they're unsupervised. That would be like a 4-year-old child playing with something electrical unsupervised.
Ooh,
it might not end well for that 4-year-old child.
I would say that the main problem, in my opinion, is people assume all toys are chew toys.
Yeah.
And most of them are not.
And most of them are not. They're not. Like a rope is not a chew toy. It's a tug toy. And when you're done playing tug, you need to put it away.
Up. Same with for most dogs, stuffies.
It's on my list.
They're kind of a tug. And all this comes into play, considering people's dog, the dog that they have. Now, sticks. If your dog is a dog that chomps on sticks, don't let him, because that one you're not managing and watching what they're doing. But so we have 3 dogs. George, he's so delicate with all his toys. He doesn't destroy them. He wants to make them last for the rest of his life.
Yes.
Lincoln, or Malinois, wants to deconstruct
everything.
Any toy you hand him. It's his job is to rip it to pieces and deconstruct it. And then Dolly just wants to play with it, but she will deconstruct some toys too.
But
she's not like Lincoln. That's his mission. You give him one and he don't want to play with it. He just wants to destroy the thing. So that's where a big one, ropes. Terrible. Unsupervised. They're great. They're great for tug. What we typically do is let the dogs play with the rope, but as we start seeing strands coming off, it goes in the garbage. Or it depends on the condition of the rope. Yeah. I like ropes because they're like floss. They help the dog clean their mouth and their teeth. But you can't. If you start seeing your dog's stool with a bunch of strands of rope in them, quit letting them chew on it, because that eventually could be an obstruction, and obstructions are thousands of dollars to clean out.
Yeah.
So, rope toys,
A lot of dogs, you got to really know your dogs. A lot of dogs don't swallow the things they destroy.
It is definitely knowing your dog.
A pile, like my husky pet Pickles, he will swallow everything.
Right. And you have colorful poop.
A very colorful poop. So whenever, because he is a hardcore destructo, murder, indestructible, chuck it balls, rips them in half in about 3 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And then he'll start ripping little pieces of the rubber off and swallowing it.
Mm-hmm.
So typically a dog, heavy chewer, destruction dog, as soon as you know any kind of crack, flaw,
Throw in the garbage.
throw it away immediately.
Yep.
Because dogs are DNA wired to be hunters, and they want to rip things apart and eat them. That's how they, in the wild.
Most dogs destroy things.
Yes.
And then quite a few dogs will swallow a few objects. So the biggest rule of thumb with all the toys, but we'll get into it toy by toy. Most toys should not be left with your dog unmonitored.
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't know what they're going to do.
Yeah.
And even if you have a toy or a chew, as soon as it gets to a certain size, you throw it away anyway.
Yeah, like Nyla bones, we do that with. So, we get our dogs big Nyla bones. They chew on them. They work their teeth or blah, blah, blah. But once they get that down to a couple inches where it could
get stuck in the throat,
not even swallowed and stuck in the throat, but stuck in their jaw.
Oh yeah.
Where I can't close my mouth, I can't open my mouth. Where it could be an obstruction in their jaw. We throw it away.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's before it could go down the throat.
Mm-hmm.
It's not meant to be the size of a little pinky by the time you finally throw it away. No, they're going to swallow that thing.
Yeah. 100% they will.
Don't let the toys get too small if they're kind of a chew toy like a Nyla bone. Bone marrow kind of falls in that camp a little bit. Pretty inexpensive thing to get your dog. They're all natural. You can get them at most grocery stores. Make sure they're raw, not cooked, because the cooking changes the composition, makes it more brittle. Now you got sharp pieces of bone when they break off a piece of bone.
If you're going to get a bone, make sure it's from the butcher or from the meat department. It's not saran wrap coming from who knows where in the dog aisle. That is cooked.
You want to get it from the butcher, or you want to get it from a reputable retail boutique.
Oh yeah.
That orders them from butchers. So there's not a bunch of MSGs and all that crap in it. Yeah. It's and it's not cooked. It's a real good bone.
It's going to be a reoccurring problem with these toys we talk about is the U.S. and other countries have very decent health standard guidelines.
We have standards.
But
other countries do not.
China does not.
And
China
you can import from other countries and they don't care that it's at a lower quality.
They don't care.
They don't care what chemicals, what.
Yeah, they don't care what chemical. If the bone is pure white, that means it's been bleached.
We don't want that.
So you don't want that. Be picky about where you get your bones because most countries don't have standards. European countries do, but Asian countries do not. I don't know if Mexico does or not. Couldn't comment on that. I guess we could have looked before the podcast.
How some sketchy stuff gets in dog food.
Yeah, but on bone marrow, if you have a dog that's got a pretty sensitive digestive system where they crap a lot or vomit a lot, when you change their diet, you want to either not give them a bone with bone marrow in it or scoop out the marrow because they can develop pancreatitis with that.
Oh,
so
that's not good.
That's if you notice, man, what did my dog eat? It was the bone marrow. And you didn't give them a treat.
Yeah.
It was the marrow inside that is causing your dog some issues.
Let alone how old that bone marrow is that's been shipped across the planet.
Yeah, that's why it's best to get it
probably not frozen.
Yeah, and now it's rancid.
It's
a bacteria haven. Yeah.
I think they're gross in the beginning, in general, all over your house.
And then with bone marrows, but bones in general, but definitely bone marrows because there's a hollow point in that middle. If they're too short, they can get stuck behind the canine teeth of the dog's lower jaw. And usually that requires surgery to get it removed.
Oh, no.
So make sure it's not a short bone. A rule of thumb is the bone should be as long or longer than your dog's snout.
Yeah.
Same rule with toys.
If it's shorter than your dog's snout, it's got potential to get lodged in their teeth or go down their throat.
Another thing about bones is you do not want to give your dogs chicken, turkey, any bones that you have cooked. Pork.
Yeah. No cooking bones. They splinter. They're sharp. It's like eating toothpicks.
It makes them brittle. It heat treats them basically.
Right.
And they lose all their
just changes the composition. Yeah. Don't cook bones and give them to your dogs. balls. This one's a big one. All right, so George loves balls. It's his cocaine. He is a crack addict for a ball.
Big ball dog.
And before we knew this, 10 years ago, we had tennis balls everywhere. He loves tennis balls, and he doesn't destroy them. Lincoln will destroy it in seconds. He'll just sit there and squish it and squish it and squish it.
But it gets destroyed.
But eventually it'll get destroyed because it is a tennis ball. Tennis balls are terrible, terrible, terrible. Don't get any version type of tennis ball for your dog ever. I feel bad that we didn't know this 10 years ago, because the outside of the tennis ball is basically sandpaper to your dog. He's sanding his teeth down every time he chomps and chews on that tennis ball. It's literally like 60 grit sandpaper.
The felt is really
terrible on your dog.
Scotch-Brite pad.
So it's a Scotch-Brite cat. Yeah. You're not going to give that to the dog. And then the other reason you never want to give your dog any variation of any type of
tennis ball,
even if it's a dog tennis ball by some pet store, don't do it. The glue, it's got glue. Glue is poisonous.
Yeah.
They should not be chewing on things that are poisonous. And especially if they do deconstruct those balls, they're pulling that off. They're going to get a little of that poison in their system, in their mouth. Yeah. Is it going to kill them? I haven't seen it do it to our dogs, but it can't be good.
And most rubber dog toys are made from hopefully are made from non-toxic rubber.
We'll get to rubber balls in a minute.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Rubber balls are next.
That's a big negative. Tennis balls. They're not built for dogs. They're tennis balls.
Yeah, they're tennis balls. Go play tennis with the damn ball. Don't give it to your dog.
There's Chuck It, those brands, they have balls that are with the felt on it.
Yeah, so there are, that's a good point. Chuck It.
I think Kong has one too.
Don't get felt covered tennis balls.
Yeah,
that felt
anything.
That felt is sandpaper to your dog's teeth. It will grind it down. You're going to regret it when they're 10 and 12 years old.
I mean, you can
and it's poison. It is a chemical adhering that.
George has it a little bit. It's just flat spots on his teeth.
Yeah.
Like not natural chewing, like straight flat.
Right, from just sanding his teeth down with tennis balls in the first couple of years of his life before we became educated on that. All right. Anything else on tennis balls or felt-covered balls?
No. I've done about balls, though.
But now we'll talk about balls.
Okay. So I don't know what you can say, but the one thing I'm going to say about balls, make sure they have more than one hole, but they do not become a suction in your dog's mouth.
Yep. You got to have no holes or more than one hole. If it's one hole, especially if your dog's unmonitored or home alone, it can become a suction, and the dog cannot remove the ball from his tongue or his lip, and then for a prolonged period of time, it can kill that portion of the flesh.
Yeah.
So no one hole balls.
Yeah.
Better to have no holes. But if you did buy a ball that was a great ball, only had one hole, take a drill or something, poke another hole. It has to have pressure release.
But we have some here, they're called holy balls. And George loves them. They have multiple holes everywhere.
Yeah.
Inside of some of them, they have creakly things.
Yeah.
He loved that ball. That's
so
like
no rubber balls with only one hole ever. Another rule of thumb with the ball, it's got to be big enough. It cannot go down their mouth.
Yeah, it's a big one.
So our daughter has two little guys, Pomeranian and Multi-Poo?
Pekingese.
Okay. I can't remember what.
Daisy's Pekingese.
So they have balls, and they're tiny. So when they come visit, we got to make sure they don't bring their balls, because George would love to play with their balls. Well, that's way too small.
Yeah.
He could accidentally
swallow it.
And he wouldn't do it on purpose, but he would chew on it, and all of a sudden, pop to the back of his throat. Now he's gagging, and no, it's an obstruction.
Well, and the ball too big too, I think. I don't know much about, but some balls are just too big though. It doesn't look fun in their face.
Yeah, I think most dogs are just.
Well, you gotta know your dog too, because the amount of I don't know what it is with Rottweilers. Swallowing things they're not supposed to, but their head is big enough, a standard size tennis ball or rubber ball
is too small.
Go down their throat.
Yeah, because they have big mouths.
And I've watched the videos. It's not a fun experience. You definitely get bigger balls if you have a big dog or a dog with just a big fat head.
Yes.
Just get him an appropriate size ball where it can't accidentally get lodged in his esophagus, in his throat. And rubber balls, try. When you're buying a rubber ball, you mentioned it. Make sure you're sourcing it appropriately. U.S. has certain standards that must be met. Make sure it's not a Chinese ball. You don't know what chemical is in that.
No.
We try to not buy a lot of toys from China.
No, just stay with the main
some
brands.
do. You can't avoid it, but
most of the
we're
main
pretty
brands,
picky.
like Chuck It and Kong, they're American made.
Yeah,
So
West Paw's American made.
Yeah.
There's
anything at the dollar store, do not buy for your dog.
Don't buy balls from the dollar
leashes
store.
are good at the dollar store, but nothing.
Yeah, leashes. Yeah, because it's a throwaway item.
Yeah,
but
anyway.
not something that your dog's going to have in their mouth for a lot. You don't know what chemical was
worth
used
spending $20 on a ball and not a $20,000 vet visit or $5,000 vet visit. It just get nice things for your dog for safety.
Are we done with balls?
I think so. Balls are pretty simple. You know, it needs to be the appropriate size for your dog's mouth.
And make sure there's a hole in it.
Make sure it has at least 2 holes if it has a hole in it at all. Ideally, it doesn't have a hole.
No felt. Safe rubber.
Yeah.
That's about it.
No felt.
Okay.
Yep. All right. Rawhides.
That was my list right here. Rawhides. Bad. Never do it. Chemicals. Up the booty.
So rawhides, what color do they come in?
I think they're white.
White. They're like bright white. That's a red flag number 1. Avoid it like the plague. It's been bleached and chemical treated to get that white look. So that right there is a deal killer. What we're going to let our dog put in their mouth because it's been chemically treated. And you don't know what chemicals those are. But what's the other problem with rawhides?
Choking hazard.
Choking. Absolute choking. Yeah. So if you gave your dog a rawhide because your dog loves them, I guess first thing is recognize, if you've already been doing it, recognize how does your dog do with rawhides. Maybe they are just a chomper and they never pull a chunk off. Okay, it's your call. We just don't personally give rawhides to our dogs. One, they're chemically treated, but the other, Lincoln would, and Dolly, they would rip pieces off and swallow it. The problem with the rawhide is after they chomp a piece off, they absorb water and then they swell. So they're absorbing the stomach liquid in the stomach and then swelling, and then they become a big obstruction in your dog's stomach or in their intestine, and then they cannot pass through the intestine, and now you're thousands of dollars of surgery. That's why. Or a dead dog because you didn't realize it had occurred. So they don't have to swallow the whole rawhide. They could just be a big enough chunk that got into the intestine and it keeps swelling and swelling and swelling, and then pretty soon, boom, game over. We don't do rawhides at all. Not ever. Not ever.
Even if you find a good American or European country that makes a non-crappy,
maybe it's brown and it hasn't been. I don't care if it's rawhide. Ain't going anywhere near our dogs.
Well, especially too once the dog chews on it long enough and then it gets wet from the slobber and drool, it gets all and that's when they rip it apart.
It's all plastic. Yeah.
If you do, you've got to watch that dog like a hawk, and as soon as it starts getting not rigid, limp, you got to throw it away.
Yeah.
Immediately. It's too much. It's too much.
Good rule of thumb: avoid rawhides. There are so many better options for your dog to chew on. Yeah. But at the end of the day, it's knowing your dog, what their chewing habits are, what their play habits are.
I got more.
And monitor your dog while they're playing with a new toy, if it's anything new. And if they are kind of an aggressive chewer or player with a toy, that can only be chewed on in the living room while you're watching TV and you're watching your dog. Yeah. When they're done, that special toy goes up and away.
All toys should go up and away, though.
All toys.
Because that's how you get resource guarding.
You can get a couple dogs to resource guard. That's my toy. That's my toy.
And it makes the toy more fun if they don't have it down all the time. And you want to get
think of it as a 5-year-old.
Every day.
If your 5-year-old has a room full of toys, there's nothing to do. Man, you got like 97 toys in there. It's because they got bored with them all. Yeah. So we do that in our house. We have a big bucket of toys in the closet with the dog food. And then we rotate them out every few weeks or a month and pull some out, put those ones that are out away, and just keep rotating them. It's like they get brand new toys. It's like BarkBox.
And then you get their favorite toy to use that for training.
Yeah. So with
motivation.
With tugs, we don't give that to them.
Well, they'll destroy it for one thing.
Yeah, they'll destroy it. That's a high value toy that's all about us.
Yeah.
So it's the experience they're having with us. So that's not a toy they get by themselves.
Yeah.
And you can find, like my dogs, we've got a couple chews, but we also have a couple chew-esque balls that they just aren't destroying.
Yeah.
They're not their favorite. Just like the chew will sit there for weeks and not be chewed on.
Mm-hmm.
It just depends on the ball. And what I like to do is, because if they've got a different option, like a ball that goes chunk chunk, that's
like
hollow, they will drop that harder.
Yeah.
It's not hard, it's soft. Their teeth can sink into it, but they're not causing any damage to the material.
Yeah. Those are the best balls.
Those ones.
I love these balls. I'm holding one in my hand that we have in our retail area. It's called Wonder Ball. It's the ugliest ball you'll ever see in your life, but it is so cool.
It looks like crap.
It looks like it can be destroyed in 5 seconds.
But it lasts forever. And because it's such weird shape, when you throw it for your dog, the pattern, you don't never know where it's going to go. It could randomly bounce a different direction. It's called Wonder Ball.
They're pretty bouncy.
Great balls. Yeah. They're pretty bouncy. No holes in it. Westpaw makes some great balls.
Yeah.
It got back on balls. It just made me think of
that's a cool ball.
But this brand, it's amazing because I'll have this in my office, and Pickles will play with it if there's no other option.
Yeah.
But if I pull out like one of the orange and blue Chuck It balls, he is all over that thing.
Right.
But he's gonna rip it in half in 3 hours.
Yes, he is. Yeah. He's a crazy person. So, I have 4 more things.
Okay.
So you should never give your dogs human toys. They're not made for dogs, even stuffies.
Or cat toys, because cat toys are made for cats.
Yes.
And dogs typically rip the crap out of them and then swallow.
Even if you have a little dog the size of a cat, dogs are designed to destroy with their jaws. Right. Cats are not. A different kind of predator. Well, omnivore versus a predator.
Yeah. Balloons. So these are a little off topic. You should never have balloons anywhere around dogs. It's just like a little kid. If they swallow it, you can't get it out of their throat.
Right.
They're going to be dead. Bubbles. So they do make bubbles that are dog safe. We've never used them, and we have 2 dogs that love the bubbles.
They love chasing bubbles in the backyard.
So I guess if they eat too much, they can get diarrhea.
A little loose stool,
It's literally like
it's like,
but it's fun.
It's just a little.
Your dog has to eat. But if you're
they would have to drink it.
But if your dog likes to chase stuff, try bubbles. Get a bubble machine because Georgie and then Abby love the bubbles.
$5 at the dollar store.
Yeah,
so cheap.
Bubbles. Oh my God, most dogs love chasing bubbles and jumping up in the air and popping the bubbles.
Hilarious. So this is a serious one that no one should do with their dogs: laser pointers.
Laser pointers.
Never use a laser pointer on a dog. What it does, if they start liking it, they get some OCD-like behaviors.
Yeah.
So whenever they see a light, they will fixate on it.
Over-fixation.
And they cannot get off of it. And so it makes them a little actually crazy.
Yep.
And then they get no payoff. They never get that light.
So it's only creating frustration.
Yes, very much frustration.
Obsessive.
Because they never can get it.
Yeah. No matter how hard
it might seem funny to the human.
But it's not.
Watch my dog chase this laser pointer up the wall and across the living room. It's really cruel. It's like teasing a child with a candy bar, and then dad ate the candy bar while the child sat there every freaking time and never let their kid have the
But it's not even, it's worse than that because a kid will figure it out. A dog will never figure it out.
That's true. The kid would know their dad's
my dad's an asshole.
And then quit coming because they know their dad's never going to give it. The dog never figures it out.
Well, and some dogs are way worse. You do it one time and they now stare at shadows, reflections.
I don't know a lot about cats, so I couldn't tell if that's right or wrong with the cat, so we're not going to comment. But laser pointers are pretty popular with cats, and then people use them for dogs. If you have a cat, research it. See if that really is an appropriate behavior or activity to do with your cat.
Have played with a laser pointer with a dog at some point in their life.
Or a flashlight.
A flashlight. And usually it's not as big a deal, but some dogs, you do it one time and now they are
You can just look at their eyes. Their pupils are so dilated. That is a physiological change that just occurred in your dog. And that's telling you the story. They're in a totally different state of mind.
So it might
that's a great point you said, Laura, that they never get a payoff. They never get to catch it. So it's just incredibly not nice.
And it can lead to worse OCD things.
Yeah.
They could OCD there's a lot of things.
Yeah,
You can
it can turn into a lot of behavioral issues and some emotional issues, or a combination of the two. So laser pointers are no go. Don't ever do it to your dog.
What do we think about bully sticks? I don't have that on my list, but they could be good, bad.
It can be good or bad. I'm looking at, what's the size of it?
Yeah.
It's got to be bigger than the snout of my dog. Yeah. You only get to chew on it
when I'm watching.
When I'm watching, and I'm picking it up when we're done.
In my brain, they're in the same category.
I'm not a fan.
I'm not a fan of bully sticks.
I'm typically going to give them jerky. I'm going to give them something they can consume.
Yes.
Or it cannot be consumed.
Yeah.
It literally can't be consumed.
I mean, you could get something like a beef jerky stick,
right?
Or
exactly.
some kind of thick thing that you eat and freeze it, make it hard.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, to make them work on it for a while.
Then freeze it, and then when they eat it, it's just not a big deal.
Yeah, so they still have the hardness.
Ways around it. You've just got
the more natural with the treat things, the better.
And freezing it's a good if you have a dog that's teething.
Oh yeah,
that's a great option. Is freezing a treat and letting them be like sucking on ice cubes.
My favorite one is ice cubes.
Yep.
Every time I open that ice drawer, I've got to give them to the boys and the dogs. And the dogs freaking love them. They want a chew thing, and they don't even make a mess. They just lay down and kill it and lick up all the water off the floor. It's easy.
So I'll tell you badness about our life. But we used to have a refrigerator now. It makes ice cubes, but they're made in the freezer. We used to have one. You push the button, and ice cubes would come out. Miss Dolly, who loves ice cubes, figured out how to press that button.
and ice cubes come out.
And you're like, why is there water all
over the floor all the time? Is our fridge broke?
So
she would just go self-dispense some ice cubes.
When I'm hot, I just want the ice cube.
But so I do have to give up. I get ice after.
She's such a hooligan in that kitchen.
She's a hooligan because she's a crazy Labrador.
Yeah, she's a Labrador, so it's all about something being consumed. All right, any other toys that we can think of off the top of our head?
Deer antlers.
Oh, deer antlers, yeah.
So those, I personally like them more than Nylabones.
Me too.
Because they're more natural. They're freaking expensive is the main drawback.
Because they're natural and someone had to wander out in the woods and find them.
Yeah.
They have farms with...
Yeah, but...
Anyways, they're expensive. And for some reason, Abby never did it. George never did it. But Pickles will puke up the Nylabone chunks.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
And that dog... he's had rainbow poop before. Because I have small kids. I just can't keep the toys up. But Nylabone, for some reason... He pukes up. Deer antler, he won't puke up.
Right. Yeah. The only thing on the antler, most of them you don't have to worry about because they're usually all the sharp points are cut. Yeah. But if you live in a rural area and hey, look at this rack, I'm going to give it to my dog. Take a saw and cut all the sharp points off, of course, because you don't want your dog getting it in the eye or the roof of their mouth.
Because they definitely will.
Yeah.
Or they're playing tug with their friend and you stab. The things are built to stab things.
Yeah, there are weapons. They are a defensive weapon or an offensive weapon, depending on how you want to look at it, for a deer or an elk.
And you need to know your dog. Some dogs need to chew till they die. They're chewers.
Right.
So you need to get them appropriate things to chew, or they will find.
Really good.
Yeah, you need to find things for your dog.
Yeah, or they will chew.
It's really good for them too. It's good.
Yeah.
It's good for their teeth. It helps remove tartar from their teeth. The chewing action.
What about greenies?
I don't like greenies for our dogs because
they eat them and
they just eat them. They don't chew on them. They just chomp them, and I'm like, man, that's a big chunk that just went down your throat.
Yeah.
I mean, you almost inhale.
I think they think of them as treats, not.
Yeah, they do. So we don't give.
Maybe if they made like a bigger, harder greenie that I've never seen.
Yeah.
Maybe that would work.
They need to make a 10-inch greenie before I give it to my dogs again.
And then some dogs don't need to chew after teething.
Yeah, some dogs are not chewers. But if your dog likes to chew, let them chew. It's good for their teeth.
Yes, it's good for their mind.
And I do like ropes because it helps clean their teeth like floss. But you got to make sure you monitor them when they got the rope and put it away.
It's a good indicator, too. Like my Abby, if she sits there and chews on something for like 40 minutes, I'm like, what is wrong? Like you are stressed out about something in your life.
Yeah, if you're overworking that same thing, that's could be an indicator of stress. That's a good point. All right. Well, hopefully today's topic on toys was enlightening. Hopefully one of them shocked you and you learn something you did not know about your dog's toys. So yeah, just be prudent on what you're allowing your dog to chew on, just like you would your child. Next week, what are we talking about next week?
Kimberly is going to be here, the groomer.
Kimberly, our head groomer, is going to be with us, and we're going to be talking about paws, nails, and your dog's coat. They really are. It's not just grooming. What they tell you about your dog's health. They tell you a lot about your dog's health. And one thing we're going to talk about nails is most people don't even think of that at all. So if you have a dog, listen next week. It's not about necessarily grooming. It's what the story of your dog's nails and paws and coat are telling you so that you can help them be as healthy as possible. So that's next week. And if today spoke to you at all and you need help with your dog and their behaviors or emotions, we'd love to be part of you and your dog's training journey. Reach out to us at k-9culture.com, or you can connect with us on Instagram or Facebook, K9 Culture Dog Training DFW. We'd love to be part of your dog's training and your training as well. And until next week,
go have fun with your dog.